There's a tiny house shaped like a 60-sided soccer ball, and it can survive winds that would flatten a normal home. There's a triangle-shaped cabin that sheds snow so well that builders in the Sierra Nevada have used the same shape since the 1950s. There is a dome made out of ceramic material designed to survive 500 years, longer than the country it is built and has existed. And there is an 8-sided shape that campers have trusted for centuries, now getting a modern tiny house makeover. Today we are ranking the strangest, strongest, and smartest geometric tiny houses being built right now. And I'm saving the most surprising one for the very end, because it might change how you think about what a house is even supposed to look like. Before we get into it, if you're new here, this channel breaks down alternative housing with real numbers, not hype. No sponsors, no affiliate nonsense, just honest research. So hit subscribe now, because the shape we cover at the end of this video is one almost nobody is talking about yet, and you do not want to miss it. Let's start with the shape you already know, the A-frame. Steep roof, walls that lean in to meet at a peak, looks like a tent made of wood. The A-frame is not new. It became popular in the United States in the 1950s as an affordable ski chalet design, and it never really left. What is interesting is why it still works so well for tiny living in 2026. The triangle is one of the most structurally stable shapes that exists. When snow or wind hits an A-frame, the load transfers straight down both angled walls into the foundation, instead of pressing flat against a roof the way it does on a conventional house. That is why A-frames have held up for decades in places like the Sierra Nevada and the Adirondacks. Cost-wise, a small off-grid A-frame shell in the 250 to 500 square foot range can be built for as little as $50,000 if you keep finishes simple, while larger, glass-heavy modern versions can run well past $200,000. On a per square foot basis, expect somewhere between $100 and $300, depending on your region, roofing complexity, and how much glass you put in. One honest caveat here. The steep walls that make A-frames strong also eat into your usable floor space. A 600 square foot footprint might only give you 450 square feet of space you can actually stand up in comfortably. If you are considering one, measure headroom at the walls before you fall in love with the exterior. There is also a construction speed advantage worth mentioning. Because the triangular frame doubles as both roof and wall, builders often report framing an A-frame 30 to 50% faster than a comparable rectangular cabin. Less framing material, fewer cuts, faster close-in. That speed advantage matters if you're trying to beat winter weather in a northern climate, since a structure that is not weather-tight before the first snowfall can face months of delay. Next shape, the hexagon. Nature already figured this one out. Honeycombs, turtle shells, even certain rock formations all use 6-sided patterns because they distribute stress evenly while using less material than a square or rectangle would. Builders have caught on, and hexagonal cabin and dome kits are becoming a small but growing niche in the tiny house space. Hexagonal panel domes, sometimes marketed as hexagon domes, combine 6-sided panels instead of pure triangles. That means fewer joints and a more spacious feeling interior compared to a classic triangle paneled geodesic dome, while keeping most of the same strength. These structures are popular for off-grid tiny homes, greenhouses, and glamping setups because the compact surface-to-volume ratio helps regulate indoor temperature, and the continuous shell cuts down on the thermal bridging you get at every stud and corner in a normal framed house. If you're picturing a beehive-shaped house, you're not far off, and that is kind of the point. One more advantage worth flagging. Because a hexagon dome does not rely on interior load-bearing walls, owners have far more freedom to rearrange furniture, add partitions, or open the space up entirely. If your needs change in 5 years, you're not tearing out structural framing to do it. Now we get into the shape most people picture when they hear geometric tiny houses. The geodesic dome. Popularized by architect Buckminster Fuller, a geodesic dome is built from a network of interlocking triangles that spread weight and wind load evenly across the entire surface instead of concentrating it on a few load-bearing walls like a conventional house. The strength numbers here are not exaggerated marketing. Some dome manufacturers rate their structures to withstand winds in excess of 200 miles per hour, and geodesic shapes have been deployed in genuinely extreme places, including a dome built at the South Pole in 1975 specifically to test its resistance to snow and wind loads. For actual tiny house-sized domes, a 19-foot, roughly 300-square-foot dome gives you enough room for a queen bed, a small kitchen, and a sitting area, with the bathroom often located outside the main shell to maximize interior space. Kits at this scale can start around $30,000 for a basic bare structure, while a fully finished custom dome home can run $130 to $200 per square foot, putting it roughly in line with, or sometimes below, conventional construction costs once you factor in long-term energy savings from reduced thermal bridging. Now let's talk about a real-world example, because this one is verified down to the square foot. Joshua Tolberg of Dodeca Domes built a home called the Mini Dome, and it holds a genuinely unique title. It is the world's first pentakes dodecahedron tiny home, a 60-sided geometric form. The home spans exactly 308 square feet across 2 floors. It uses a welded steel hub paired with wooden struts, sits on a raised pier and beam foundation, and is currently operating as an active vacation rental, with plans for a buildable kit version to follow. If you want to see a 60-sided house from the inside, this is the one to search for. Before we get to the ceramic domes, let's talk about a shape that has quietly been part of alternative housing for longer than almost anything else on this list. The octagon. 8-sided structures go back centuries, from yurts used by nomadic cultures across Central Asia to Victorian-era octagon houses built in the United States in the 1850s, when the shape was marketed as giving more natural light and more usable floor area per linear foot of exterior wall than a square house of the same footprint. The math behind that claim actually holds up. For a given amount of perimeter wall, an octagon encloses more square footage than a rectangle because you're spreading the same wall length around more sides and closer to a circle. That means less exterior wall per square foot of living space, which translates to less material cost and less surface area losing heat in the winter. Modern octagonal tiny house kits and yurt-style structures typically run from $20,000 for a basic canvas and lattice yurt kit, up to $80,000 or more for a fully insulated, permanent octagon cabin with conventional siding and roofing. They are popular in areas with high wind exposure, since the multi-sided shape presents less flat surface area for wind to push against compared to a standard rectangular wall. This next one is not mainstream yet, but it is worth knowing about because it might be the direction geometric tiny housing is actually heading. A California-based company called Geodesic has spent the last several years developing dome homes built from a bioceramic composite material, essentially a chemically bonded ceramic similar to materials used in bone repair and bridge construction. The pitch is a dome that resists fire, mold, and rot, and is engineered with a design life of around 500 years. Here is where we have to be honest about the numbers, because early access pricing and long-term target pricing are very different things. Geodesic's flagship early release model, called the AMA Founders Edition, is exactly 1,643 square feet, with 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and a dedicated office. It is priced at approximately $300 per square foot for its initial rollout in Northern California, landing around $500,000 total. That is not a budget tiny home. That is a premium early adopter price tied to first-run manufacturing. The company's own public roadmap targets $80 to $100 per square foot once production scales into regional microfactories, sometime after 2031. That is a real target stated publicly, not a rumor, but it is also 5 years out and depends entirely on them hitting manufacturing milestones that have not happened yet. If you're chasing a bioceramic dome as an affordable option today, the math does not work. If you're watching this space as a long-term bet on where housing technology might go, it is genuinely worth tracking. If you have made it this far, you clearly care about getting the real numbers before you commit to a build, and that is exactly what this channel is for. Tap subscribe now, so the next honest housing breakdown lands in your feed automatically. And stick around, because the shape ranking is coming up right after this. Every geometric shape on this list solves a structural problem. None of them solve the zoning problem. Unconventional shaped homes, whether dome, hexagon, octagon, or steep A-frame, can run into resistance from local building departments and HOAs simply because inspectors and appraisers are less familiar with them. Financing can also be trickier. Some mortgage lenders treat non-traditional home shapes differently, and you may need a specialized appraisal to get a loan approved at all. There is a second, quieter cost that rarely makes it into glossy videos. Furnishing a curved or angled interior is genuinely harder than furnishing a rectangular room. Standard furniture is built for 90-degree corners. Dome and hexagon owners frequently end up commissioning custom built-ins or accepting some amount of dead space along curved walls, and that should be factored into your budget alongside the cost of the shell itself. Before you commit to any geometric build, call your local building department first, not last. Ask specifically whether they have precedent for domes, octagons, or A-frames in your county, because the shape that looks incredible in a video can turn into a permitting nightmare if your zoning office has never approved one before. Let's run through a few quick questions I know are coming in the comments. Can you get homeowners insurance on a dome or hexagon home? Generally, yes, but expect to shop around. Standard carriers sometimes decline unconventional shapes outright, while specialty insurers who work with alternative and manufactured housing tend to be more familiar with the risk profile and can often insure them at comparable rates to a conventional home, especially once the structure is finished and inspected. Can you build any of these shapes yourself? A-frames and octagon kits are the most DIY-friendly of the group, with many manufacturers designing kits specifically for owner assembly using basic tools. Geodesic and hexagon domes are more buildable than people expect, since the components are pre-cut and numbered, but the compound angles at each joint make a first-time build slower than a standard frame structure. The ceramic domes are not a DIY option right now. They require certified installation as part of the manufacturing process. Which shape handles heat best? Domes and hexagons generally win here because of their lower surface area to volume ratio, meaning less exterior surface for heat to escape through in winter or enter through in summer. A-frames can struggle with heat retention near the steep upper walls unless insulation is upgraded beyond a standard build spec. So here is the one I promised you at the top. Out of everything we covered today, the shape quietly outperforming the others on pure cost to strength ratio right now is the hexagon panel dome. It is not as famous as the classic triangle geodesic dome, and it does not have the 500-year marketing story of the ceramic domes. But it gives you the same wind and snow load advantages as a full geodesic structure, fewer joints to seal and maintain, a more open-feeling interior, because hexagonal panels cover more area per seam, and kits that are meaningfully cheaper than both the bioceramic domes and many finished A-frame builds. It is the shape doing the most for the least money, and almost nobody is covering it yet. If any of these geometric builds caught your eye, let me know which one in the comments: the triangle, the hexagon, the classic dome, the octagon, or the ceramic long shot. And if you want more honest, no hype breakdowns of alternative housing before you spend a single dollar on land or a kit, subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week we're digging into a build style almost nobody expects. I will see you in the next one.